This is a war on religion. This is a war on the children. They give you the cure with the sickness. This is a war on tradition. This is a war on religion. This is a war on the children. They give you the cure with the sickness. This is a war. This is a war.
Hello, this is Dr. Kevin Cruz with the Truth, Faith, and Action Alliance. Our alliance includes Somebody Cares Tampa Bay, All Pro Pastors International, Protect Our Children Project, Make America Free Again, Citizens Defending Freedom, United Pastors of America, Florida Faith Foundations, and Soil Ministries. I'm so glad you're taking the time to learn how we can save our children. And nowhere is the well-being of our children more important than in their education. That's why we're so happy to have Sam Sorbo here to share with us how we can save our children from the secular schools that are indoctrinating them into a godless worldview. Sam Sorbo is a successful Hollywood film actress, writer, podcaster, producer, and TV show host. But Sam's passion is being an advocate for educational freedom, and that includes the emancipation of parents and their children from our modern school system. Now, before Sam Sorbo talks about her journey through Hollywood and how God led her back to her home, I want to share a short video so you can see what we were up against and why we need Save Our Children conferences worldwide.
Fired up parents and students attended a school board meeting on a controversial topic.
Should kids in school learn about gender identity?
There is now a war on children happening within our K-12 school system.
Tempers flared over books on gender and sex that some parents are calling porn.
You want to know what it has in it? Sodomy, rape, and drug use.
Please stop the sexual grooming of our children by these types of books and illustrations.
A controversial children's book teaching graphic sex acts, complete with illustrations, making the rounds in school libraries and classrooms across the country, leaving parents and communities outraged.
These kind of books in our pre-K, K school systems, bye-bye binary.
One concerned pastor tried to read the book at a school board meeting, but officials asked him to stop.
If you don't want to hear it in a school board meeting, why should children be able to check it out of the school system?
This book is for children 10 years of age and up. It details explicitly with pornographic images, homosexual sex, lesbian sex, straight sex.
One of the chapters in here is about sexting. Yeah, I'm going to interrupt you at this point. It sounds like you have a concern about a book. I don't understand how it's appropriate for kids and it's not appropriate for the school board.
You have made it abundantly clear that you will continue to pursue questionable subject matter without parental inclusion.
It is a controversial topic that has fueled a lot of backlash, whether to require teachers to address students by the pronouns they prefer.
Send emails to students without parental consent, asking if the children wanted to be known by another name or gender. Parents say this is an absolute betrayal on their ability to raise their children how they want to.
I want her to hear from me as a parent what her gender identity means to her and to our family. Not from a book. My daughter went home crying, shaking, so afraid that she could turn into a boy.
I just got off the phone with my wife, who took my 9 and 7-year-old boys to the doctor today, and the first thing this woman asks him is if he identifies as a boy, a girl, gender fluid, or non-binary. My son, he's never heard of any of that before. So what are you trying to plant a seed in his head?
Storybooks that teach 5, 6, and 7-year-old children that they can change from a boy to a girl, or that their sex is assigned or perhaps misassigned at birth.
The day my daughter shared with her guidance counselor that she felt like a boy, the counselor immediately affirmed this new identity. From then on, the counselor continued to have one-on-one meetings with my daughter without my knowledge. My daughter changed very quickly, was bullied. This was a time when she needed me the most, and you kept it a secret from me. Treating every parent as a potential threat to their kids is wrong.
It is my job to teach my kids about sex, It's y'all's job to help teach about reading, writing, and arithmetic.
It can be argued, oh, well, that's what we're doing to a transgender student, but are you not invading my daughter's privacy when a man walks into her bathroom?
You prey upon impressionable children and indoctrinate them into your insane ideological cult, which has the idea that boys are girls and girls are boys.
Disturbing footage surfaced of a drag queen performing in front of infants. Yes, infants.
Now, does anybody in this room know how to twerk? And then you just move your bum up and down like that, and that's twerking.
Robbing kids of their innocence in America as we allow diversity, inclusion, and equity to dominate our schools.
School board, I quit. I quit being a cog in a machine that tells me to push highly politicized agendas on our children.
Leave this district, protect our children, or get out of the way.
That was a disturbing video, was it not? So I have a couple of things that I want to talk to you folks today about, and I'm struggling because it's occurred to me what you're seeing up there. You're seeing people arguing with the schools as if there's an argument to be had, as if they still retain some moral authority. They don't. They ceded that. They ceded that when they started co-opting your children. And so why do we go and argue with the school board? Because we are enslaved, right? That's why my mission is to emancipate parents from the schools. Parents, I'm emancipating parents so that then they can be empowered to teach their children, because children don't need school. And then the second thing that occurred to me is, as I'm watching this and I'm understanding that drag queen showing children how to twerk. Why do they hate children? They must be jealous of them because they've all regressed into some weird, perverted childhood fantasy, right? Why? Otherwise, why would you want to co-opt children like that? This is a movement. And yeah, we can talk about the politics behind it, and there are politics, and we can talk about the strategy, and there is a strategy, but ultimately it's against children. It's a horrible thing that they're doing to children today. And so let the children not be educated. How about that? How about do nothing? How about first do no harm? Take your children out of school, then worry about where they're going to, get an education, how they're going to grow up and all that stuff. But first, do no harm. That used to be the Hippocratic Oath. First, do no harm. So it occurred to me this morning when we were speaking on the panel that we've reached a point where we've completely emasculated young men to the point where they'd rather be women. They'd rather be women. And they're clearly not. Like, that's frightening. I understand what it's like to be a woman, and it's great, don't get me wrong. But if you're a guy, why would you want to be that? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, you've got special equipment that makes you a man. Stick to what you know. Why are you going into there's a whole mess of stuff you don't want to have access to. So we've emasculated all these young boys, all these young men. And the way that we've done that, there's a couple ways that we've done that. But the foundational way that we've done that for decades, and gentlemen, you have not been exempted because you went to school. They trained you to sit down and shut up, which is unmasculine. So stand up and shout, right? Like, do the opposite of what they're expecting you to do. So we've emasculated all these young men now to the point where they're trying to become women. And what does that do? Like, think about it. Like, they created a void because young men need purpose. And their purpose is to protect, ultimately. In fact, I heard Tucker Carlson talking about how being the patriarch is like, really cool. Like you get to just sit at the head of the table, and you're like, the women are just off doing things, and then the food arrives, and you're the lord of everything that you see and stuff. And to a certain extent, that's right, except when there's an intruder in the house, and then you're on deck, man, and you better show up, right? And we deprive young men of that honor of being the protector, of being the strength, of being the power in the house. We deprive them of it. So then what does that leave us? And it just occurred to me this morning, because that's a void. There's an absence there. What are they going to do with this? And by the way, it's God installed, right? This drive to be the powerful, to be the strength, to be the protector. They turn predatory. And I'm not saying that they all do. I'm saying that it can so easily be thwarted into that, right? Because one of the speakers that you're going to hear from today is going to tell you about the number of predators, and they are plentiful. All kinds of predators. And I think that that's part and parcel of this whole movement. And so the best thing that we can do, parents, is take your boys out of school, specifically before the age of 8, take them out of school and get them outside hitting things with sticks. I say it sounds funny because it does, but it's the truth. Little boys should be hitting things with sticks. They should be kicking things in the, stomping in the mud and stuff like that. And we've allowed the schools, because they're the experts, right? We've allowed them to really steal the family from the culture. They've stolen the family. Most of us grew up very much unparented because we went to school all day. And so your parents were ancillary. For me, I was like a latchkey kid. So I went home after school every day, and I didn't see my mother but one day a week at that point. By 7th, 8th grade. And I didn't have a father in the home, so that was that, right? I had some older sisters and stuff like that, but we've been so, all of us, programmed from our own schooling to do what's, I was at an event, and I wanted to ask a question. They said, I'll accept 2 questions. And my first thing was to look around, who's in charge, who can give me permission with a microphone or something, because I have a question I want to ask. And somebody else blurted out a question, and I'm like, dang, that's what I should do. I should just blurt out, because there isn't a person in charge. But we've been geared to think, oh, somebody's in charge and I need permission. And I'm saying that like I do it, and I lecture on it, like stop doing it, but I do it, right? And so then I like stood up and I like raised my hand, like I'm here and I have a question, right? And so I encourage you all to do that, to take charge. We don't want to take charge though, right? Who wants to take charge? Responsibility's hard. There's one hand in the back. Good for you, sir. Well, he's figured it out. That's the special sauce. Because when you take charge, guess what else you take? Credit. And that's kind of fun. You start to take charge, you take credit. I take credit for my kids. Ha. Right? My kids are awesome. And then I want to share this with you. The one thing that I did right, and I did a lot wrong. And I go into that. So my first book is They're Your Kids. They're Your Kids. This came out when they were very busy telling us that they weren't our kids. And they still are, right? They're still telling us that. I schooled my first 2. My boys are fairly academic. I'm academic. And so I thought I thought education was academic. It's not. That's a lie. But I thought it was. And so I schooled them. And I've started telling people this. My oldest son is so smart. He figured out how to cheat. And he never got 100% because he was too smart for that. So he used to cheat, but that's how smart he is, right? But the one thing that I did that I did right is I read the Bible every morning. And I had them read the Bible to me. And, there were some contentious mornings where my daughter, who's the youngest, was trying to read the big words.
And my son, who's the oldest, was getting frustrated. Why are we letting her read? Like, can we just give me the book? I'll read it, you know. But they love those times. And when you give children the Bible, they recognize it as the source of truth. They love truth, right? This is why our children are so frustrated. Because going to school, they know they're being lied to. They can't tell mommy and daddy. Even if they tell mommy and daddy they're being lied to, here's your struggle as a parent sending your child to school. You're telling the child, the school knows. And then the child comes home and tells you, but they believe in evolution. Let's just take the easy one, right? And you say, well, we know that evolution is not true. Well, then why the heck are you sending me to school? Right? So you're the hypocrite now. Sorry, but unfortunately, that's how it works out. So don't be hypocritical. Don't send your kids to school. You don't believe in what they're teaching them. What's happened is you've bought into the system. Okay, wait for it. Money is the highest value. That's what the schools teach. College prep and career readiness. Why? College prep, because you want to go to a good school. Why? Because career. Why? Because money. The entire school, K through 12, 13 years, is all about earning money. They've turned you into a slave to money. That's become your God. Not you, but that's become the God. And now, and this is the problem, and you're going to hear from Dr. Jeff in a few minutes, all of these doctors have been sold out. They've let themselves be bought out. They did it for the money. They lost their integrity, they lost their honor, and this is what's happened with our government. The entire culture has been perverted with this lie that the highest virtue is money. So do not send your children to be taught that lie, because then in 30 years or 40 years, they wake up and they go, why am I unhappy? It's because they didn't learn virtue. They didn't learn honor. They didn't learn service. You know, another lie in school is sacrifice. What's sacrifice? Anybody? What is sacrifice? What is it? Giving up. Wrong. Sorry, don't mean to pick on you. Everybody here agrees with you. Putting someone before yourself. Actually, I love this because this is the lie that the schools have taught you, that sacrifice is surrendering something or losing something. No, you only sacrifice when you have something to gain. You only sacrifice when you see the gain. Jesus died on the cross, and we think, oh, he died on the cross. No, we don't. He rose again. He had something to gain. What did he gain? He gained you. Not much. He gained a little. You. Sacrifice is the gaining of something, but they've taught you that it's wicked. They've taught you that it's evil. They've taught you that it's a negative. That's the lie in our schools. Do you understand? So our schools are filled with lies. I talk about, I struggle with lies. Is there a counter? I'm not watching the time. You're the counter. Excellent. Quick story. When I was in 4th grade, I loved math. I love math. And the teacher said, what is 10 divided by 1/2 plus 2? And he asked the whole class. And then he went to the first person. He said, what is it? She said 7. And he said 7. And she said yes. And then the next guy, 7. You say 7. Okay. And you say 7. You say 7. You say 7. Okay. And you say, and he got to me. And I'm this petite 4th grader. And I'm sitting there sweating bullets. Because by my reckoning, it's not 7. Holy crap, what am I supposed to do now? And he got to me and he goes, you say 7? Well, I couldn't say it was 7 because I didn't believe it was 7. And I shook my head and he said, wait, what? You don't think it's 7? Everyone thinks it's 7. What do you think it is? And I quickly redid the math and I'm like, 10 divided by 1/2 is 20. Plus 2 is 22. And I said, it's 22. And he said, but that's ridiculous. The whole class says it's 7. What should we do, class? Should we throw her out the window? Which... I'm in 4th grade. I was like, what? I didn't think that was going to happen. And then he said, well, actually, class, she's right. Don't tell me I'm right. And that made me love the truth for the rest of my life. And that's why I can't lie. I can't do that. So I'm here to give you the truth. I'm known as the woman who says they want to have sex with your children, because they do. I've been quoted at school board meetings now. And not refuted, by the way. Not refuted. Because they do want to have sex with your children. Who here knows that fascism is left wing, not right wing? Okay, that's why I wrote this book, Words for Warriors. Fascism's left wing. Why do they want us to think it's right wing? Anybody? Because they want you to think that right wing is just as bad as left wing. That's how they get you. Equivalence. Well, then we're all just evil, which is funny because we know that we are evil. We know that we're sinful because we have Christ. But they're trying to convince us, well, those right-wing zealots, they're so violent. They don't exist. Right-wing violence does not exist. So we have to stop allowing them to lie to us. How much time do I have? Do you know what? I'd love to open it up for questions. So if anybody have any questions, think about that for just a minute. Oh, fantastic. Okay. So we have to get back to truth. And the truth is, you love your kids. And you shouldn't let anybody compromise that. Now, but Sam, I want my kids to get an education. Okay, why? Think about that. Well, because they need a good job. Do they? Think about it. Do you trust God? Because God doesn't say, make sure your kids get a good job. God doesn't say, make sure your kids get a good education in terms of school, right? He says, teach my words to your children. Teach them diligently. Teach them as you walk by the by, as you lie down to sleep, as you wake. So what is it that you want for your child? And this is my newest book, because I realized that I was fighting such an uphill battle trying to get parents to take their kids out of school because we are so fearful. Why are we fearful? We were taught to fear in school. We all went to school, we were taught to fear. How many of you in this audience do the job that you went to school for? Okay. Not as many as I thought, but a few. So you actually do the job that you went to school for. Now think about this. And those of you who don't do the job you went to school for, this is an easy one for you. How much of what you do did you learn after school or outside of school? A lot of hands. You educated yourselves. Why don't we trust children? Children are intrinsically curious. They're driven. Why? When? How come? How many? What for? Right? Boom, 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 boom. And you're like, stop asking me questions. By the way, never say to a child, stop asking me questions. Don't ever say that. Say, oh my gosh, I'm so tired. Let me get back to you on that, right? But don't tell them to stop asking, right? Because that's what they're taught to do in school. They're taught to stop asking questions. And you know when the teacher says there are no stupid questions, you know how you roll your eyes? Because everybody knows there are stupid questions. Don't lie to your kids like that either. Sometimes a question is just dumb. Not today, though. Not today. Every question is fully... All right. There's a question there, sir. When can I move in? Is there a question in there? Those are siblings. Yeah, when you bring the kids home and you allow them to work out their issues, they don't fight. Then you also have to encourage your children. So a lot of what I do has become parenting advice, because we're so largely unparented. We don't know how to parent our kids. And so, and education, by the way, is parenting. Like, education is parenting your child into adulthood. So your job is to light a fire. That's what education is. It's not data entry. That's what schooling is. And so, like I said, I schooled my first two because I didn't know any better. And then my third one came along, and my first one's an actor. Okay, I got that covered. I can teach that, right? My second one's an engineer. I did study engineering. I can teach that. And I love math. And my kids hated it because they would, when they had a math question, I was like, oh, yes, what's the math question? Tell me. They were like, Mom, calm down. My third's an artist. I have no idea. Her brain works entirely differently than my brain. She thinks higher thoughts than mine. I'm serious, like she's brilliant in ways that I can't fathom the brilliance, right? She makes up words that make sense. Think about that. Try to make up a word that somebody would understand if you said it. But she does it. It's crazy. Because I have to go, wait a minute, that's not a word. I mean, I know what you mean, but you can't do that. Anyway, when she was about 11, I hit my knees and I said, God, I think maybe this time you made a mistake because I can't teach this. And she said, and God said, through someone, maybe anatomy classes would be clever. And I'm like, that's perfect. So I ran up to her room. She's 11 years old. I said, anatomy classes. She said, oh, bless your heart. She showed me her sketchbook. She had pages of drawings of the interior of the human body with labels. And I said to her, you're already teaching yourself anatomy? And she said, well, yeah, I mean, I need to know it if I'm going to draw. Why don't we trust our children? It's a hard lesson to learn. You need to learn to trust. You need to learn to trust God. Frankly, that's really what it boils down to, right? And then when you start, look, I went through a very hard time. I went to school. I went to Duke University. I was going to be a doctor, okay? Like I was on the path for a career. Career first, then family, maybe, right? That was the way I was raised in an atheist household. Like I was on that path. And I'm just lucky that I jumped off of it because I ended up being very successful before I graduated. And so then I was like, wow, I made a lot of money. So I did what they told me I was supposed to do. But it doesn't mean anything to me. Is this it? This is the end of the road? Like I might as well just stick a fork in me. I'm done, kind of. And that's when I went on a search and I found God. There's order in the universe. But it is very difficult for me to say, my kids will turn out all right, even if I don't worry about what they're going to do for a living, because God. So if there's one thing that you take away today, I hope you take away God. He's in charge. And it doesn't matter if you send your kids to the finest college, they could come back an atheist, you've lost their soul, so then what? Right? So, is there a question back there? For gain. Hallelujah. So, Paul introduced me and said that I gave up my career. I actually didn't. I stepped away and God redeemed it. And I wrote a movie. Why did I write that movie? So we have a movie, it's a gift for you guys. It's called Let There Be Light. Did Kevin talk about that at all? I wrote this movie because I was trying to raise Christian children in a largely secular world. And it occurred to me that, atheists don't have their faith challenged nearly the way that my children have their faith challenged every day in myriad ways. And then I thought, I wonder what it would look like if an atheist really had his faith challenged. And then I thought, that's a movie I would go see. And then I thought, I should write that movie. So I did. And it's the world's greatest atheist, has a near-death experience, and realizes that he's gotten some stuff wrong. And within 2 weeks of writing it, Sean Hannity called and funded the movie. I can't make this stuff up. And my writing partner said, well, you have to co-star. And I said, that wasn't what I was going to do. And he goes, no, you have to. And your kids have to be in it. And I was like, but my kids can't act. And he's like, well, they still need to be in the movie. Well, they had been taking acting classes. And so I auditioned them for the movie. and they had learned how to act. Their auditions were amazing. I'm like, okay. So it's a family film made by a family for families. And it's free at the book table. Are there any, and so did I sacrifice? Yes, because I got so much in return, right? And my relationship with my children. So let me tell you this, there's another lie. Teenagers don't rebel. If you are the parents of a rebellious teenager, they have learned to rebel somewhere, hopefully not from you, but they've learned it. It's a learned behavior. It is not a natural consequence of being a teenager. And so I had 3 teens who used to come into my bedroom when Kevin was traveling just to chat with me. Teenagers. And I'd be sitting on the bed with my laptop and I'd be thinking, okay, this is going to be a longer evening than I had planned. But I'd always put my laptop aside because you can't buy that. There is no value of money that is there. Wow, she went from 2 minutes to stop. You guys have been great. Thank you very much. If you want to chat, the book table's in the back or in the front. Thank you so much.
Once again, we want to thank Sam Sorbo for sharing her passion for the education of our children and how it can help us win the war for their hearts and minds. I know many of us are still in disbelief that anyone would purposely deceive and harm our children. But these and other details I'm about to share prove that this war on our children is real. As a father, I'm determined to fight for our children's future, but I need you to see that we have an organized and relentless enemy. Just listen to what they are chanting in the streets at one of the pride parades and singing in one of their choruses.
We'll convert your children. Happens bit by bit, quietly and subtly, and you will barely notice it. Just like you worried, they'll change their group of friends. You won't approve of where they go at night to protests. But when you'll be disgusted, so gross, when they start finding things online that you've kept far from their sight. I will convert your children. We're coming for them. We're coming for your children.
You heard that right. They are here. They are queer, and they, them, are coming for your children. They also have a plan, and they fully believe in their cause. The problem is that if you go to Snopes, they say this is a false claim, even though you just watched it with your own eyes. If that doesn't send shivers down our necks, the following picture will. But it also reveals how they are coming for our children, through curriculum as young as kindergarten. I would like to introduce you to the gender-bred person. If you're confused, imagine what a child might be feeling. There are 4 different ways they have to identify themselves as boys or girls, or something in between. But how are children even capable of sex or making these decisions when the process of becoming male or female hasn't even started and isn't finished until the late teens? Keep in mind Sam's story that she shared at the celebrity panel about what was said to her daughter at an early age that made her feel stupid for most of her life. Now you can see how these inappropriate questions are part of the strategy for grooming the next generation. Next, let's check out a graphic sex book that's been approved for 9 to 10-year-olds in 4th grade. As an oxymoron, the book is called It's Perfectly Normal. Not only does this book show and discuss pictures of sex, but it also does the same for gay, lesbian, oral, and anal sex. The book also talks about rape and abortion. While most of us are appalled that our children are being taught such things, these kinds of books are being pushed from every angle. The good news is that under United States Code, Section 1466A and 2251 of Title 18 clearly say it is illegal to distribute, receive, or possess drawings, cartoons, or paintings that depict minors engaged in sexually explicit conduct. What many people fail to understand is that a teacher is always in a position to groom someone because of their position and authority. Indeed, lies and manipulation are the techniques used by predators to gain access and then compliance of their victims. And how is that not happening here? Undoubtedly, the biggest lie anyone can tell you is that boys can become girls and girls can become boys. Or maybe the reason you have so many friends of the same sex is because you're gay. The point I'm trying to make is that children are impressionable, meaning they can be hacked. In fact, the impressionability of children and teenagers has been proven scientifically over and over and over. Children are considered immature because they're incapable of rational and independent judgments and are therefore easily influenced. Children can be easily hijacked and distracted by intense external stimuli. They will often imitate others without any filters. Our children's vulnerability is why they need to be protected, which is why most of their activities are governed by their age. This shouldn't be shocking. As Christians, our Bibles told us, way before science existed, train up the child in the way that they should go, and when they are old, they will not depart from it. The problem is we've forgotten how to pass our faith and heritage to the next generation, which is why schools, Christian schools, home schools, and church schools could be our salvation. Like Kevin and Sam, my wife and I can testify about the life-changing difference homeschooling has made for our family. My boys were between 2 and 5 years behind, and now they're on grade level or even a little ahead in some subjects. Still, we cannot abandon public schools, their curriculums, and especially the school boards. In fact, some of us are called to fight for other people's children. Once again, the problem is Christians have abandoned showing up where the battle is being fought, and this has to change. As we discuss solutions, remember to visit samsorbo.com for links, resources, and books about how to better parent your children. Within our alliance, Protect Our Children Project, Citizens Defending Freedom, and Community Issues Council are the most involved in what is happening in our schools. Of course, you can find out how to save our children by going to our website, truthfaithanaction.org. You can also use the QR code on the screen to donate directly. If you want to hold a Save Our Children conference or learn how to form a community action group in your church or area, please contact us at info@truthfaithanaction.org. If you would like to hear more from Sam Sorbo, we will be sharing an interview we did with her on the Supernatural Junkies podcast, which can be found by searching wherever you podcast. As we end this session, our prayer is to turn our hearts back to the children, because the future depends on it. Once again, may God bless you, and may God help us save our children.
I'm Alex, and I'm super.
I'm Dr. Thomas Dozier, and I am also super. Hi, I'm Dr. Dennis, and I am the natural.
Hey, I'm Dr. Kevin. That makes me the junkie. Oh, yeah. And we are
the Supernatural Junkies.
And we talk about all the things that you can't talk about in the church today.
And I like to talk about strengthening your faith, conspiracies, and how everything on TV is programming you. I like to talk about how our Bible is relevant, whether you're talking about artificial intelligence, so-called aliens, or secret societies. By the way, I know what Dr. Cruz likes to talk about as well.
Spoiler alert, I like to talk about how current events are prophetic and exactly what our Bibles warned us would happen. Alex, what's your jam?
I like to talk about ghosts, aliens, demon baby, supernatural healing, you name it. Be sure to check out our 100+ episodes on places like Audible, iPodcast, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. Just search for the Supernatural Junkies wherever you podcast. Also, don't forget to like us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.